A top Biden insider has openly admitted to gaslighting the public about the former president's age and mental acuity.
Cover up to me is a little hard, a little harsh. Every politician, everybody, every human being tries to cover up age.
Would you say it was
There are
self-interest
some
driven?
things that are true. I mean, like the gaslighting, there was a lot of denial of the polling. And I will use the term gaslight because that's what they were doing. The campaign, former colleagues, the message to everybody was to make sure that you tell people it's too early. It's too early. These polls don't mean anything. Well, it became too early and these polls don't mean anything for about a year and a half. The polls, so the numbers never moved.
Right.
And but by denying the data that was out there publicly, by denying the really insightful journalism that, you know, they were actually demeaning a lot of the people, but it was the data denial that really bothered me, because we loved polling when we were running,
Right.
because we were always ahead. All of a sudden, because they're always behind, the polls are meaningless, and we're attacking the New York Times. And they did do a lot of gaslighting of people, and I think if you were watching MSNBC, you probably believed them, and were probably pretty shocked. But if you were consuming information, consuming data, and looking at it objectively, and trying to interpret it and process it objectively, then none of it was surprising.
So that was Joe Biden's ex-press secretary and White House insider Michael LaRosa. Okay, speaking to the at an event at the Science Institute at American University with Puck journalist Tara Palmieri. So I wanted to, set the stage and tell you like who he was talking to and who this person is, right? But there it is. I mean, Biden insider admitting that, yeah, the staffers were hiding the ball when it came to any concerns about Joe Biden's age and his mental acuity. Now, there are other things in that interview, by the way, where he talked about. One of them is how he expected Biden not to run again, to kind of pass the torch to younger Democrats, maybe more progressive Democrats, if we had a primary. But that did not happen. Joe Biden went full steam ahead. The DNC did not hold a primary. And then you had the disastrous debate where Biden just completely fell apart in front of the American people. There was no question after that debate that's like, oh my God, what are we doing? What are we doing? Now, what's interesting, though, about this is the admission, though, about the polling, okay? So that jumped out at me. Okay. And now he said that the polls for Biden were terrible and that they weren't moving. Okay. And so they were bad and they were staying bad. So you know what? We're just going to ignore them. And now I remember criticizing Donald Trump, people criticizing Donald Trump as well, for ignoring the polls. Polls, fake news, fake polls. And now you got Biden doing the same thing. Biden staffers, fake polls. It's too early. It's too early. They ignored the reality and had rallied behind a man that nobody really ever wanted him to run again. Honestly, people didn't want him that much in 2020 either. He wasn't. I don't think he was anybody's first pick. Okay. That said, we all know the story when Bernie Sanders was doing well. This was before Super Tuesday. Okay, the establishment panicked. They're like, we can't let Bernie run away with this thing. So President Obama made some calls, okay, and it told people drop out and endorse, all line up behind Joe Biden, so that when Bernie gets crushed in South Carolina, which happened, okay, we're gonna have Biden as the new undisputed front runner. Because Bernie did much better when there was a divided field, okay? So that's it. I mean, so what happened is they got Joe Biden, okay? He became the nominee, and they're like, oh, thank God we stopped Bernie. Mission successful. That was what we were going for the entire time. We just needed to stop Bernie. But now we're stuck with Joe Biden. Uh-oh. I mean, okay, but that's fine. Don't worry. He'll win. He'll serve one term. He says he's going to be a one-term guy, and then he's going to pass the torch. And then we'll figure out where to go from there. But that didn't happen. By the time Biden dropped out, it was too late, pretty much, for Harris to turn it around. Now, that said, maybe she could have, if her political instincts were better. Okay? I mean, here's the thing. Picking Tim Walz was actually really good. I had some hope then. Okay, it's like, all right, Tim Walz, not Josh Shapiro. Woo! All right, we got a chance. We got a chance. But then picking him actually didn't do him any favors because they muzzled him soon after. I mean, yeah, he was out there talking about how Republicans are weird and his polls were up and their polls were up, and it's like, oh yes, finally somebody who's saying it right. Okay, great. And by the way, Tim Walz is out there now talking about like, hey, that people are not. We're not going to tinker around the edges with ACA. No, we're going to go for real universal health care. Okay, so that's what he's talking about now. So Tim Walz, fantastic pick, but they muzzled him. They silenced him. And look, they also kind of tried to muzzle Bernie as well. Okay, and so those same staffers that stopped Tim Walz from being Tim Walz, also told Kamala Harris, hey, why don't you not, campaign with any progressives or anything like that? No. You're going to now campaign with Liz Cheney. Campaign with Liz Cheney. Don't say anything bad against Joe Biden or differentiate yourself from Biden's policies in any way whatsoever. Okay, and you know what? Whatever you do not say anything about the genocide in Gaza. Even though that most Democratic voters are like, please stop sending Israel unlimited amounts of money. Please stop doing that. Like it's gonna go badly. Okay, we don't really want to support a genocide. They're like, no, full steam ahead, full steam ahead. And actually, we're gonna just shut that whole thing down. We don't need your votes. So places like Dearborn, swing state, Michigan, very important to pick up. No, we're just forget about it. Not at all important. Terrible. Absolutely terrible. And of course, agreeing with conservatives on the immigration as well, and not sticking up for trans people. Just awful. The terrible political campaign, terrible political instincts. Okay, listening to, of course, the consultants and the donor class, which is like, oh, don't talk about income inequality. Say everything's great. We got to say everything's great. Oh boy. Now I've got one more video here, by the way. Getting back to Joe Biden, and this is La Rosa going on to reveal how Biden staffers were essentially scared to death of letting him do interviews.
The president's team was scared to death of impromptu, unscripted, unrehearsed, unpracticed, unchoreographed, anything. They couldn't compete for the attention economy. They just couldn't do it. They didn't have any idea, and they didn't have the vessel, either in Biden, by the way, who would have done anything. He loves TV. He loves doing stuff. It was the orbit that did not trust their own candidate. Biden needed the press, and when he needed them the most, they didn't trust him. They didn't give him the benefit of the doubt. And they put their foot on the gas and never took it off. And he was politically dead and won.
So this is really important as well, okay? Because remember, during the campaign, Donald Trump was everywhere, okay? He was getting out the message. He was going on like obscure podcasts and hanging out with like Theo Vaughn and all that stuff, okay? Joe Rogan, all that. Where was Joe Biden? Nowhere. Like, he was being hidden by his staffers. So, obviously, how are you supposed to fight back against a torrent of lies that Donald Trump tells on a daily basis, hiding in a basement. You can't do it. You can't do it. And by the way, when Harris took over, she didn't really do much either. Okay. She stuck with legacy media outlets, which most people do not trust now. She didn't do alternative media. And so she couldn't get out her message or fight back against these torrent of lies as well. So what they did, these staffers, they played it safe with Kamala Harris, and then super safe, not just super safe, but just like, we're going to prevent you from doing anything. And look, huge mistake. Huge mistake. The Democrats absolutely blew it against Donald Trump, who is a convicted criminal. Okay. Look, the party, the Democratic Party is a mess. Okay. And you would think that they would have learned something by now in their post-mortem, but no, they haven't. I mean, Hakeem Jeffries is out there right now punching left. Okay. Oh, it's the left. The left is the problem. We got to stand up against the extreme left and the extreme right, but mostly the extreme left. What's the extreme left? People that want healthcare for everybody? It's ridiculous. And you know, while Hakeem Jeffries is doing that, AOC is getting sidelined by an elderly cancer patient. Okay. And now they're putting up Alyssa Slotkin to respond to Trump's address. Okay. Now, Alyssa Slotkin voted for 8 of Donald Trump's cabinet members. Okay. Voted for the Laken Riley Act, which basically kills due process for immigrants. All you have to do is just like accuse someone that you think could be an undocumented immigrant of a crime, and then their due process is gone, immediately deported. Whether or not they actually did the crime, doesn't matter. And Slotkin was also a George W. Bush national security advisor. She's a neocon, okay? A neocon who's massively pro-Israeli genocide. She was also, like other neocons, endorsed by Liz Cheney. Okay, talk about the kiss of death there. In favor of the TikTok ban. Democrats came up with. Okay, Democrats supported. Trump first supported it, and then was like, "Oh no, I'm going to come out against it, and I'm actually going to be the one to save TikTok." Oh yes, and there you go. And by the way, Slotkin also against student debt relief and massively backed by crypto and tech bro billionaires. This is the Democratic Party's rising star that's going to challenge Donald Trump. No wonder they keep losing the far-right fascists over and over and over again. This party, I mean, is just an absolute disaster and just needs to be, I mean, it needs to be gutted, okay, and replaced. All right, that's it. I mean, the whole foundation is just completely rotted. And if the left ever wants any chance of winning and stopping the fascists, okay, from keeping power, they need to have a massive overhaul of the Democratic Party. Get the billionaires out, get the corporate interests out, and replace it with people who are actually going to represent the working class. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon in order to get notified whenever a new video is released. And if you want to support independent, progressive media through this difficult time where it seems like everybody is shutting down, you can become a member on our YouTube page, you can become a subscriber on Facebook, or you can go to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Thank you.